Today I decided to make a French silk pie. So we're going to start out by making and baking a pie shell. I used to struggle a lot with pie crusts. I tried all kinds of different recipes, and some of them worked, some of them really didn't. And then I ran across these really cheap 99-cent mixes, pie crust mix. So dump it out into a bowl. It takes 4 to 5 tablespoons of cold water. I usually use ice water just to make sure that it's nice and cold. We'll start off with 1, 2, and 3. Start mixing this with a fork. This is something where the humidity in the air can actually make a difference on how much water you have to add. So we'll get that mixed in. We'll add our 4th teaspoon, or tablespoon, excuse me. Just gotta make sure everything is mixed up well before you add any more water. You don't want to go too far because you can't take it out again. We'll add just a bit more, a little less than half a tablespoon. Okay, now you have to get in there with your hands. Form this into a ball of dough. Just making sure that everything is incorporated well. So make sure you don't work it so much that you start to develop the gluten. That's not what you want on this. Okay, here we go. So we're going to use a little more than half of this because we're only doing a 1 crust pie. Put that in the fridge and use it another time. One thing you want to make sure of with this, some recipes will tell you to refrigerate your dough for a bit. On this particular recipe, I did at one time. I refrigerated it. If you do that and you get it out, you got to make sure you warm it up because it will crack pretty easy if it's totally cold. Okay, now we're going to put a little bit of flour down on our sanitized surface here. Start pressing it out by hand a little bit. And then go to your rolling pin. Push it out in all directions. Make sure you're loose from the counter here. Okay, I have a 9-inch pie plate here. Plenty big for it. Fold this over. Put it into the pan. Make sure it's hanging over all the edges. Press it down in there well. You're going to want to trim off this excess. My oven is preheating to 400 degrees for this. Okay, what you didn't trim off there, fold it under. Then what I do is just take 2 fingers and start my way around to make a fluted edge. Okay, and since we're baking this without a filling, take your fork, poke holes in the bottom, and in the sides. This will help keep it from forming a lot of bubbles when it cooks. Oven's hot. Okay, one of the things that I've always done with my crust for sweet pies, don't ask me why, I just started doing this years ago, I sprinkle sugar in the bottom, just a little bit. And scraps that we have left, we're going to go back with the other ball of dough that we had left for use at a later time. So there you have it. One pie shell ready to bake. Like I said, 400-degree oven. This will take 10 to 15 minutes. And you want to watch it pretty closely. If you want it to be light golden, you don't want it to be dark brown. So, and then we're going to cool it down before we go on and make the rest of the pie. Okay, our pie shell is cooked and cooled down. So we're ready to make the French silk filling for our pie. So we're starting off with a cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. Make sure you use real butter for this. I use salted butter. I like that. I think the little salt that's in the butter really helps bring out the flavors. And then I have here 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, which I'm going to put in that bowl. I also have 1/3 cup of cocoa powder, which I like to mix with the sugar. Otherwise, when you put that cocoa into the mixer, you can end up with a rather large cocoa cloud. So this helps reduce that a bit. So I kind of mix that together. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it sure helps. And because I'm using cocoa powder instead of like baker's chocolate that you would melt, I'm also adding some vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Okay, mix it down, start it up. We're going to start putting in our sugar and cocoa mixture. So we already have a cocoa cloud forming. Go ahead and add the 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil now. And continue cleaning this together. This is a real classic. I've been making this for years. Okay, now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Turn that up a little bit. Now we have 4 eggs that I'm going to add one at a time. I'm going to get them beaten in before we put the next one on. To make sure that it's all well incorporated. And it's all fluffing up like it should. off a bit. Get the rest of that fudge-like substance off there. Okay, well whipped. If you're squeamish about using raw eggs, which is what this has in it, you can buy pasteurized eggs, or you can pasteurize them yourself. Entirely up to you, but it doesn't work the same without actual eggs in it. So we've got our pie shell and our pie filling. As you can see, this turns out to be a pretty tall pie. Could have done it in a 10-inch, but this particular pie I like to have really thick. It's incredibly rich. Make sure you get every bit of goodness out of there. Okay, at this point, this goes into the refrigerator for about 3 hours minimum. You want to make sure that it's chilled all the way through. And shortly before it's ready to come out of the refrigerator and be topped, I'll go ahead and make some whipped cream for on top of it. See you in a few. We're at 3 hours. The cake has been chilling, excuse me, the pie has been chilling in the refrigerator. So we'll go ahead and make our whipped cream right now. Use 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, whatever you care to call it. And a approximate teaspoon of vanilla. I've had the bowl and the beaters in the freezer. The colder it is, the quicker it'll whip up for us. Okay, get that sugar whipped in. Okay, let's see where we're at. That is it. Quick, easy. It's perfect. Okay, I'll take that off there. That out of the way. We get the pie out. There's our pie after 3 hours in the refrigerator. You can tell it's really set up nicely. Just gonna start putting our whipped cream on. Beautifully tall pie. Just the right amount of whipped cream. I find it's much more delicious if you make your whipped cream instead of buying artificial stuff. Okay, I'm just going to try to make a few peaks there. Okay, final touch. Take some baker's chocolate. Just shave some chocolate over the top of this. It's going to go for chocolate curls, but this chocolate is actually not quite moist enough to go into curls. So we'll just do chocolate shavings over the top. There you have it. Classic French silk pie. Now we're going to cut into it. Very nice and solid. Let's cut a piece out of it here. I said before, this is a very, very rich pie. So you could actually cut it in fairly small pieces and it'll still be enough for most people. Let's see if we can get that out of there with just a fork. Oh yeah. And there you have it. Classic French silk pie. So of course we have to taste it a bit. A little of the crust, a little bit of cream, a little filling. Wow. Very rich, very decadent. The mouthfeel is absolutely wonderful. Consider that a success. So good luck making that. Hope you enjoy. Remember, it's not my first kitchen.